When we were putting together Submission Radio 200, we had to get this Hall of Fame, a former UFC champion, an MMA icon on. You've known him from his historic fights, movies, commentary, and broadcasting work, but he's also steadily been one of our favorite people to speak to on Submission Radio over the years. El Guapo himself, Bas Rutten. It's a real honor to welcome you to Submission Radio 200, man. Welcome to the program.
Congratulations, guys. That is so freaking awesome. 200 shows. What? How many shows you have a week?
We have one. Except when things go pear-shaped. But the thing is, we're going to be coming up on 6 years next month, 2 months from now. So 200 should have come a lot earlier, but here we go. It's here. And I think you were on one of our first episodes, maybe episode 3 or 4. So it just goes to show, man, we've been talking for like 6 years almost.
Yeah, that's so fun. You know, when you write an email and it's still the same email trail, when you go all the way back, you go like, whoa, yeah, it goes all the way back. I think 2014 or something.
Yeah.
You know, so that's wild.
It is 2014. Great memory. Beg your pardon, Bas?
I said that means that you're doing something good, right? You're doing it for 6 years. People loving it.
Apparently so, man. People like yourself coming on and making Submission Radio look a lot better than we really are, but we really appreciate it. And you actually had a special milestone as well. Just, I think it was just the other week, UFC 18, your UFC debut was just over 20 years ago. You took out Tsuyoshi Kosaka v TKO. I'm just wondering, what stands out to you from your memories of your first UFC fight?
Oof. You know, I remember walking into the cage before the show started, and I go, man, this is going to be awesome. There's no way they can lock me up in the corner. I mean, it's giant. I mean, we're talking about 34 feet. I mean, that's 9 meters something. I mean, that's a big space. So I was very happy with that. I wasn't so happy about myself. Is that voice annoying in the background or not?
Which one, the leaf blower?
Yeah. Because I can open if you want.
It's up to you, man. It's up to you. It's not the best. It's not the best thing in the world, but we can deal with it.
We can deal with it. Look at this. Look at this. What I'm gonna do. Look, we're mobile.
Wow.
That's not having a laptop. Whoa.
Wow.
It's no problem at all now.
Thank you.
So
yeah, no.
What stands out? Oh yeah, I had an injury. You know, I was training with Daryl Golar. He was an old UFC fighter as well. He was a really good wrestler, and I got him in a triangle like 2 weeks before the fight, and he decided to lift me up and slam me in the corner. So my whole neck was jacked up, and I had to fight Kosaka. You know, so I could the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, I couldn't do any takedown defense because I didn't want to risk anything with my neck. So I was a little nervous about that. But you know, once the fight started catching there, and once I started getting his timing down, you know, then I started to get in control. The coolest thing is, and you can read this also, and I have to say this because I think I thought it was really cool. You can read this in Big John McCarthy's book. I'm walking back to the corner. So this is weird, right? So I always believed that the nose bone into the brain, that's just a myth.
Yeah.
You know, and somehow the day before of the day or the day on the fight, somebody tells me, yeah, it is a myth, but if your nose is already broken, you know, no, that was the Kevin Randleman fight when he broke my nose.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I wanted to say about that is, I'm completely messed up right now. What I want to say, in the minute break, I had a 3-minute overtime. I had a minute break. I went to the corner, and I tell my corner, I said, I got him figured out. Just shout when I have 1 minute left. I'm going to knock him out. Wow. And I turn around, and Big John McCarthy looks at me. He stares at me. Just heard me saying that. He has a big smirk on his face. He turns around, and he walks away like laughing, like, yeah, right. So then when you hear the fight, you hear 1 minute, and 10 seconds later, I knocked him out. And he actually gave me his shirt, what he was wearing in the octagon. He goes, dude, I heard you say it. And then you actually did it. It was crazy. So he gave me his shirt that he was wearing as a referee on that particular show.
That's pretty cool. So Big John McCarthy's show, was that kind of like a sign of honor to you? Like, here's the shirt off my back kind of thing?
Yeah, it really was. You know, I always liked Big John, you know, and Elaine, his wife, you know, that's just great people. So I thought that, I think if you ever talk about MMA and how we got there, you know, all the rules, I think this guy is super important. If he wouldn't have been there, I mean, he was the first guy also who said, listen, if I can't step in, I'm out of here. because somebody's going to die, right? In the first UFCs, the corner could throw in the towel, but then you had guys like, for instance, Tank Abbott telling their corner that if you throw in the towel, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. So these guys, they didn't want to throw it, and people got hurt. So then after the second show, I believe McCarthy said, it's either I can step in or I'm out. And thankfully, they respected him so much, they kept him. And he was there also with all the rules of mixed martial arts. He gave the name mixed martial arts. All that stuff comes from Big John McCarthy, man. He was instrumental.
I'm wondering, you mentioned that ahead of this fight, you were a little bit nervous because of your neck. Just in general for your fights, were you a guy that got very nervous before the fights? What was it like, moments before you walked out there? You hear guys like, say, Cowboy, I think they talk about, vomiting or wanting to vomit. I always wonder, how different guys deal with things, if everybody's nervous or if it's just some guys. How did you deal with it?
I've been always very honest to myself, and I'm really good in talking to myself. So if you really break it down, fighting, it's not dangerous at all. If you get knocked out, well, apparently you're not going to feel that. So you're knocked out, you're going to wake up. If you get in a submission and, you want your arm broken, if it's an armbar, don't tap. But that would be stupid. You can tap. There's a referee. So if I get knocked out and somebody wants to give me a few extra shots, there's a referee. So if you really break it down, it's really not that nerve-wracking. And what I always was focusing...
I'd love to hear right now the people who cop liver shots from you right now as you're saying this.
Liver shot is different, right?
Yeah.
A liver shot, you're aware of the pain and you're excruciating pain. That's why I like to do it to people that I'm not really fond of, because it stays with them, But just be honest. And what I always knew is that at the moment the bell goes, and pretty much every fighter has this, I guess, as soon as it goes ding, it goes boop, and you're in that bubble. I call it always a bubble. I can hear my corner, his corner. That's the only people I focus on. And sometimes I hear conversations from the people ringside. It's funny because in Japan I would tell certain people what they were talking about during the fight. I go, you should pay attention. You were talking about the wedding you had over in Kyoto, whatever it was. But I would focus on their corner. That was my most, where my focus was. For instance, with Maurice Schmidt, he was in the corner of Kosaka. And I just wanted to give Chiyoshi Kosaka a right high kick when the 10 seconds went. I wanted to go with the right high kick. And Maurice, since he's a great striker, he recognized what I wanted to do. And he's shouting at Kosaka, watch out for the high kick. He sees me setting it up. And immediately I heard him, so I switched it into a straight punch. And that was the punch that started dropping him. And then I went on. And later on, I told Maurice, I say, you should shut up, dude. You're warning him. So I just switched it. He goes, you're probably the only guy who listens to the other kind, to the other corner. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I love hearing your thoughts on fighting. I remember when you said you just like positive vibes in the locker room and stuff like that. So much to learn for these young fighters that are listening to the interview right now. But while we're speaking of memories, we've been meaning to ask you about a story regarding Chael Sonnen that he told on his YouTube channel in May last year. So the story goes from Chael that after training at Team Quest around 2006, he made some comments about you in the media. And then a mutual friend said you were actually considering coming down Team Quest to maybe kick his butt. So for those who don't know the story, can you tell it from your perspective? What actually happened with Chael? And did you actually consider going down all the way there to kick his butt?
No, the thing was, I got a phone call. And somebody said, what about Chael Sonnen? He's talking about you. I said, I have no clue who that is. Because at the time, Chael was not big at all. His name was not out there yet. So I go, can you call me back in 10 minutes? Let me do some homework, and so I know who the guy is. So, and then he calls me back in 10 minutes. I go, well, I'm looking at his record that, he wants to be the next Randy Couture. That's what he was talking about, but it's not going really well for him. So I guess to wait for him to get a light on him, is to talk about fighters who actually are winning, So I kind of pushed a little back, I started pushing back. But for the rest, I thought he was just a loudmouth. I had no clue about Chael at that time. I thought he was just a douchebag, But Chael is once you meet Chael, he becomes your best friend. I'm telling you, he's a really good guy. And then he came over to Here Comes the Boom when we were filming that. And apparently Ryan Parsons, who also knows him, and I know him as well, he was my strength and conditioning guy in my last fight. He had told Chael that he needed to apologize to me, which I didn't know about, So one day we're walking back, and to the trailer, whatever we're doing, and suddenly he catches up with me and says, can I talk to you? I was such an idiot a long time ago. I said, Chael, you saw what I wrote back, I just fired back. I just left it at that. I said, I had no clue for the rest. And he made a really smart joke. I forgot what he did in the beginning, because first of all, I thought, is he continuing? But then I saw the smirk on his face, and I realized, oh, he's just messing with me, and that is Jill. I remember he had a big problem with Kenny Rice. He was talking really bad about Kenny Rice, and Kenny was furious. And then Kenny had to work with him. And I told Kenny, I said, you know what's going to happen? You're going to work with him, and you're going to call me, and he's going to be your best friend. And he goes, there's no way. And right away, a half an hour in, he calls me, goes, you're so right. He's a good guy. I said, that's Jill, man. Jill is just he's a good guy. But he was like a Conor McGregor. You see, I don't get my fights. Let's start talking about people. That's spurring it up. So he was the first guy who actually, I would say Tito Ortiz in the beginning he started. Jill took it to the next level because he's really good with wording and how to prepare speeches. He was a little bit Ali-like and WWE-like. And then I think Conor took it again to an even higher level. I think Conor was freaking Ali. Every speech that he does, for me, if somebody's asking about a certain situation and I have 10 interviews, I will 10 times I will tell the same stupid story. Conor tells it 10 times different. That's a gift if you have that. And he used this gift well, and look where he's now right now.
Just before we move on, you mentioned how Chael sort of had a joke before he apologized to you. So apparently it went like this. He was walking back with you after finishing up, and here comes the boom. And he said something along the lines of, Bas, I said those comments about you, and I've noticed that you never thanked me for them. Something along those lines. And then apparently you folded your arms and you gave him the death stare. Is that what went down before you realized he was joking?
Is this guy serious now? Is it, continue? But then I could see by reading his face, he was just messing with me. And then we started laughing, and he goes, dude, I was just stupid. I said, let's forget about this whole thing. And bada bing, bada boom, suddenly we were friends.
I get the sense that there was never, because I know that when he told this story, it was like Bas Rutten was going to kick my ass. I get the sense that there was never really, you never really had that feeling. But have you had a situation like that with any other fighter or anyone for that matter, a manager, a celebrity, anyone, where something happened, someone said something, and you were like, I need to kick this guy's ass to teach him a lesson?
I had those situations, but most of the time when I make the step towards it, then apology comes. Yeah. And thankfully I never had to do it. I did, and actually I'm writing this talk that I'm doing for Lent for here at the church, and where I came from, what happened, and I was very sick as a kid. I had a horrible skin disease, so I was bullied a lot because they called me a leper, and watch out, your ears don't fall off, and all that kind of stuff. So once I knew how to fight, once I saw the Bruce Lee movie, I started training, and then I started training with adults. Another adult took me under the swing with Taekwondo, and I started dropping adults. And then I overheard these adults talking about me in the dressing room, and I never heard any positive feedback about myself. It was always negative. And suddenly these guys are telling each other that, my God, this kid Bas is really good, So then I got into a street fight with the biggest bully in town. They shouted against something with my leprosy, whatever they said. And this time I shouted something back. So they started to chase me, but I said, no, I'm not going to. I put my bike on the stand. They surrounded me with their bikes, like little kids, like in a badass movie. It's with cars, right in the middle of the night with the headlight. And this was with cars during the day. And then the biggest bully started bouncing his chest into me. I don't know what that meant. And then challenging me. So I knocked him out with one shot. And that changed 95% of the bullying. And then I started thinking, wait a minute. That guy bullied me. That guy bullied me. So I started putting down a list, making a list.
Kill Bill.
And I went after everybody. Yeah, I went after everybody. Some of them were so sad that I just slapped them with the hand. Because they would say, yeah, I don't even remember what I said. I said, but that's the worst thing.
What do you mean you went after them? Like, was it like a Taken thing? Like, did you track them down and then?
No, I know who they were. It was just in school. I would wait after school or in the break or whatever. I would say, hey, remember that? Bonk. And I would knock them out.
Wow.
I was so, what people don't realize, and what I tell everybody always, I guess, but thankfully I never got a beating because I was always physically strong, although I was very skinny, but I was always strong. But I think I rather would have a beating than words. Like the words that they say and the way they hurt you, that always stayed with me. Maybe like 10 years ago was finally then where I found out to shake certain trigger words still. If people would still say certain words that they said when I was a kid, I go, whoa, we got to relax, boss. But I want to knock the guy out.
Wow.
So then you can see what it does to you after 30, 40 years to still be inside your head just by saying certain things, So for him to say, I don't even remember what I said, that made me angry as well, of course. I go, because it really hurt me at the time. So that's why I tell people, watch out with words. It's you can ruin people with it.
Yeah. 100%. Dennis and I obviously know that ourselves firsthand, but it's funny because, like, when you were in school and sort of like getting your feet under you and learning martial arts, you would not have developed that reputation yet as like, this guy can, kick your ass. Eventually you would have, but like once you were an MMA fighter, UFC champion and stuff like that, everybody knew like, oh, Bas Rutten, like, yeah, he's not really a guy that you'd want to fight, unless it's in the octagon. Did you have that as an MMA fighter? Like, you mentioned sometimes you would go up to people and then they would apologize. Is there like a funny story where like you went up to someone and you genuinely were going to kick their ass and then it almost came to it, but then didn't?
No. Listen, it's very hard to get a fight with me. I'm the guy who keeps apologizing and I say, hey, can you want a beer or something? I don't want to do this, and then, but until somebody starts thinking that I'm afraid, and then I look in their eyes and, they say something in a certain way. I go, whoa. I'm not saying this for me, dude. I'm saying this for you. I don't want to beat your face in and spend the night at the police station. I don't want to go over this, but I'm not afraid of you. I just don't want to fight. It makes no sense why we have to fight. If there's a reason, yeah, I will fight you. But this is so stupid what we're talking about. And most of the time when you talk like that, they realize, it is a stupid reason. When you go out, 90% of the fights, the people who are drunk. Oh, he looked at my wife. Well, that's kind of a compliment. Did he touch her? No. Did he talk to her? No. I go, so you're angry because they looked at your wife. What? If they look at your wife, they go like, ooh, you want them to do that? No, of course not. Your wife is pretty and they look at your wife, so see it as a compliment. Now, once they start neglecting you and they know you're with that woman and then they still start coming on, now I can understand you're getting angry. But boy, everybody gets angry just because they look. It makes no sense. That's why as a bouncer, from the 10 fights there were 9 of them was no fight. Because I would always diffuse the situation. I would simply break it down. I would always say, what happened? And once you start breaking things down, everybody realizes, that was really stupid what we're doing. Until this day, I'm doing it. People in the car, if they go, keep honking the horn. If I don't drive right away after 2 seconds, I get out of the car. And I put my hands always up. I say, just want to talk. And I say, was that necessary? Wow. Was that really necessary? You couldn't go, bloop. You never make any mistake. And then they look at you and they go, yeah, I'm sorry, it's stupid. I go, that's the only thing I'm saying. Bye, have a great day. And then I'm off again.
Must be the tats on the hands.
Yeah, some people, man. I had this guy here. I was standing on a hill behind him, and he was in the Corvette. One of the guys with the midlife crisis, the earring and the flat top hair, and all the, the pager and the tight shirt and belt. And I saw him looking in my mirror, in his mirror at me, and I go, what is going on, And then suddenly it turns green, and he keeps deadlocking in his mirror, looks at me, and he goes super slow. But I had a Panamera at the time, so I go, whoop, and I pass him, and I just drive on. Now he starts chasing me. So right away, I have to go in my neighborhood here. So I stop on the middle of the road to go in, and he's flashing his horn, so I get out of the car. And right away, when I walked up to him, he realized he misjudged the situation. I go, what's going on? You're shining your freaking lights in my car. I go, dude, I was standing on a hill behind you. Have you have any idea? And he's looking at me and go, yeah, think about that. I'm standing on a hill. What do you think is going to happen with you purposely think that you think I'm purposely try to beam my light in your car. For what would I do that? And while I was talking to him, he goes, yeah, that's really stupid. I go, just think, dude, just think. I mean, 10 years ago, this would have been a whole different conversation. I probably would have pulled you out of the car. I toned down a lot right now. So, and I just do that for them to not do it in the future anymore to other people because they can make a wrong decision with the wrong kind of guy and they're in trouble.
I'll tell you what, man, there should be a Bas Rutten traffic lessons program on TV right now. Reality show where you teach these people how to have some manners on the roads. And I think we might have to put it towards a few networks down here in Australia because there's a few crazy drivers down here as well. But while we go from your anniversary at UFC 18, we want to look at UFC 246, man, because just the other week, another iconic moment in MMA history went down as Conor McGregor made his return at 170. It only took 40 seconds, but what did you learn from seeing McGregor's return? Some people are saying it wasn't long enough to really learn anything, and other people are saying, this is a masterful performance by Conor McGregor.
Yeah, well, about all these other skills, it wasn't long enough for that. But you know that he worked on those shoulder strikes, and it paid off, and he dropped him with it. So I think it was perfect. I was very smart. to right away to hit that in there, the few shoulder strikes, which completely messed up Cerrone. And everybody goes, oh, it was a bloody nose. If it's a bloody nose, there was some impact. And we always talk about this, right? Everybody repeats the same thing. Everybody has a game plan until they get hit, or the punch that you don't see coming is probably the one that's going to knock you out, because you can brace yourself or you can go with the punch. Your brain is not ready for it, and so it's disconnected, and you go out. And that's, I think, exactly like that it happened. He hit him with the shoulder strikes. He was already mentally messed up. Yeah, and from that moment on, Conor stopped picking him apart. But it was all trained for. I mean, this was what Conor did in the preparation for his fight. I know 100%, and he pulled it off perfectly. So for me, that was a masterful performance.
It's interesting hearing you say masterful performance. Obviously, Stephen A. Smith, huge personality on ESPN, sort of disagreed, and he was saying that he was disgusted with the performance, that Conor showed nothing. As someone who's done it all in the sport, obviously a fighter, commentator, host, I'm just wondering what you thought of those comments. Did you sort of take it with a grain of salt because you know who Stephen is and how he sort of rolls, or did you think that sort of there should have been more respect shown?
He has no clue what he's talking about. He's never been there, right? So he doesn't know. And like I said, the punch that you don't see, to say that about Cerrone. Cerrone is one of the toughest guys we know. Everybody knows that. He takes fights on a week notice. I mean, the guy's insane. He always fights. He was not afraid. He got dizzy. He got dazed. Something happened to him, his nose. And it's not only a bloody nose. No, it's something happened to the brain. I've seen fights in where somebody gets hit like, tuk, and they go down. You go, oh, really? Yeah. Well, I have been workouts that I'm filming and I've been sparring. And then, I go, wow, like in the second round, this guy hit me hard. So when I look back, I want to see the punch. And I thought, I'm going to see the sweat on my face pump off. And then there's nothing. It's like dink. And I go, that was it? That was literally the punch. But it's something that you don't respect, you don't understand. And then suddenly when it happens, when you don't know it's coming, yeah, it can really set you up. And for a guy like that to talk like that, it's just really dumb. I would say, go to a boxing gym, experience one time. Let Conor do it to him. But then again, now he knows he's going to do it, so he's going to be ready for it. You have to understand that Cerrone had no clue that it was going to come. And out of the blue, there's a shoulder strike. Well, the hands were not close. Nothing was close. And suddenly he gets hit. Yeah, that can really do something to your brain, set you off, unbalanced. And from that moment on, yeah, Conor just took over. So, yeah, people like that, if they never been in a fighting situation and they never been hit hard, or hit very gentle and then still be dazed, because all boxers, every professional fighter has the same story as me. They get hit and they thought, oh, that was a big hit. And then when you look back, it's a really tiny little punch. And you go, wow, that was so crazy. So, yeah, unless you've experienced that, you should not talk about it, because he has no clue what he's talking about. And it's a shame, because he's a great reporter. But it doesn't mean if you're a great reporter that you're automatically understand. Oh, I did boxing, he said. And I did it. Yeah, but still, you haven't been there. It's like you remember in the beginning of MMA, there were the inverted but heel hooks. People were laughing. They go, this guy tapped because he grabbed his leg. I broke a guy's shin bone in half in Japan in a fight with a heel hook.
Yeah.
By accident. Yeah, that's what a heel hook does. And if you tell somebody, I lost my toe hold. Oh, toe hold. Yeah, I always go. Don't let the name fool you. It's not like this is my toe and you're going to hold it like this. No, I saw John Lober fighting a guy that I fought in Japan, and he got a toe hold on him, and he broke his shin bone in half as well. So they're very powerful moves. Yet on the outside, it looks like, why is he tapping? Because they don't understand it. And I think that is the same case in this situation. He just doesn't understand that a light shot, an unexpected shot can really do something to somebody's brain. And that sets him off, and then from that moment, it's all going downhill, of course.
I was going to say, obviously, you're a fantastic commentator and broadcaster, PFL, Inside MMA, everything that you do. But I'm just wondering, Stephen A., like you mentioned, there's a difference between talking about basketball or football and then speaking about fighting and saying a guy like Cowboy Cerrone gave up and his performance was atrocious while he's on his way to the hospital with a broken nose and a possible broken orbital bone. He went on social media and he sort of doubled down on his comments. He responded to Joe Rogan, and then Conor McGregor responded and said, apologize for those comments, because I guess it at a certain level, it becomes personal in a sport like this. I know you mentioned it before, but do you think guys like Stephen A. Smith who don't understand the sport should be allowed to make this kind of commentary on major broadcasts after the fight finishes, now that it's on ESPN?
No, I think that was wrong, and I think you lose, and because I read some things when you guys said maybe we're going to touch on this, but he's not backing down. He's constantly saying it, and for him not to understand that, I'm pretty sure I'm not the first person who gave the same analogy, right? It cannot be. I mean, it's not like I know it all. No, everybody knows this. You can get hit in a really little tap, but if you don't understand it, when you get hit, that can really set you off. And if you don't understand that, you shouldn't talk about it. But this is typical. This is what we see in politics. This is what we see everywhere right now. A lot of people talk before they actually know. How many times? I think it was with you guys one time. You wrote a headline. I said something about Jon Jones, and the way you worded it was like people go like, "What did he say?" So they click on it, but some people didn't click on it, and they just read the headline. And I got an avalanche of crazy things. And the only response I had, I said, "Listen to the interview." And then, yes, 50% of all these guys, they came out and said, I'm so sorry. I said, don't believe the headlines. Just click on it, watch it for yourself. And then once you see it, then you understand that I didn't say that, and it's, but that's the way of marketing works. And we do it. I do it. Everybody does it, but we're hoping that people just click on it, not just right away see that statement. And a statement you can take out of context as well. Right. That's why with texting with my daughters, if they're in a fight with somebody, I say, pick up the phone. Because everything you say right now, even if you say, yeah, I like you very much. Well, that can be like, yeah, I like you very much. I mean, you can take everything the wrong way. And until you don't know that, don't talk about it. Watch it and see what happens.
I remember you speaking about Jon Jones multiple times on our show and sort of clarifying comments and stuff like that. That's why people have to listen to the full interview. And just for record, we don't write articles. We do the video, we do the audio, all that kind of stuff. We're not the ones actually writing any of the articles. But I wanted to ask you, Bas, when you look at sort of Conor McGregor coming off this win, especially at welterweight, what do you think should be next for him? There's so many options. People are talking about Masvidal. Conor's sort of interested in maybe fighting for the title at some point. There's the Khabib rematch. There's Justin Gaethje, who, there's Nate Diaz trilogy, potentially Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. What do you think should be next for him?
I think if he's a smart man, he does Pac-Man, right? I mean, that's not $80 million in his pocket because this guy's a great promoter. But, I think he loves to collect belts, right? Masvidal, man, you got the BMF title. Then you have 2 UFC titles in 2 different weight classes, and you have the BMF title. I think that's pretty cool. And Masvidal, he's a handful. This guy's super explosive. I mean, look at him. If his last 7 fights, I believe, is 1 decision. The rest is all knockouts. And he fought some great guys. So, I think that would be a fight that could probably beat any record. I truly believe that, especially because the way they hyped it up. With Diaz and Masvidal, and everybody was watching that show. Now imagine McGregor against Masvidal, because Masvidal, I mean, he's got over 1 million followers as well, I saw. I mean, I think that's going to be a super big pay-per-view if they do that. And then the smart move for him would also be, of course, Manny Pacquiao. I think that's great. It depends on what weight, not 145. I think he's way too skinny at 145. He shouldn't fight like that anymore. I mean, I saw him one time everybody see him at the weigh-in, right? I mean, that simply looks unhealthy. I wouldn't do that. And by the way, I heard also that the reporter said that he didn't do anything in boxing. McGregor, was that true? That he said he didn't respect him for what he did in boxing?
As in Stephen A. Smith did?
Yeah, did he say that as well? Because I go like, whoa, wait a minute. This is a guy who fights his first pro boxing match, and he goes 8 rounds against Mayweather, who's undefeated. I mean, arguably one of the best boxers on the planet, and to give him hell in the first 3 rounds, I think he did a phenomenal job. I think if he would have been in crazy shape, he would have gone the distance, actually. Going the distance with a guy like Mayweather, I think is pretty impressive. For your first fight ever, boxing professional? Come on, man. See. But you remember how all these fighters, all the boxers were saying he's not going to be able to hit him. Yeah. All of them said, I say, I take that bet, any amount you want. 100% he's going to get hit. What? We don't know how to hit a boxer? Are you stupid now? It's sometimes I don't understand comments. And he was giving him hell the first 2.5 rounds.
Whenever we talk about boxing, I just really wish that Mike Tyson Bas Rutten fight went down. That would have been. But then again,
Mike Tyson. No. Kickboxing, I might think about it. MMA, I'll do. But
Yeah.
kickboxing, but still, even with the feet keep him away. I mean, he was in a Starbucks somewhere, and this is like half a year ago. Somebody made a video. He was showing some kids how to move and to punch.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, very freaking scary to look at that guy. My whole fighting stance actually is based on Ramon Dekkers and Mike Tyson's stance, my square stance. Equal power in the left and in the right. I just pick out the best, strongest fighters that I believe there are, and I want to hit like them. And that's the way he can create so much power in his left and in his right, because he's squaring up. If you're blading, you're shutting down your whole left side. And in kickboxing, it's even dumber blading, because you can't block low kicks. There's a lot of things you cannot do. Why not stand a little bit more square? My inside low kick, no, you're probably going to have to check that inside low kick. But if I stand in a bladed position, well, you just can take it and counter with the right straight. But in my stance, now I can use upper body, and I can still develop a lot of power in that kick. Now it's a whole different ballgame, and a jab becomes a straight punch. If you hit somebody hard with your left, well, now you got his attention. So now it's going to be easier to set up openings. You hit him a few times really hard with the left, what they think is a jab, but they feel it's a straight punch. They go, okay. So yeah, that's why I love that stance so much, and that's why I love Mike Tyson so much. And the way he was moving after his combinations on that little tiny video, I go, whoa, that's a scary guy still to fight.
Well, I was going to say, when I was bringing that up, matchups make fights, and Conor McGregor and Jorge Masvidal, man, these are two top-level strikers. You could probably say these are two of the best strikers in the whole UFC right now. I'm just wondering, McGregor's known for his boxing, his left hand, but he's also got some good kicks, great reaction time. Jorge Masvidal as well. We saw that flying knee. This is a guy that's unpredictable. This is a guy that loves to be in the fight. This is a guy with a whole bunch of techniques, more sort of, I suppose, more kickboxing style, but still very, very interesting. How do you think break down the striking between the two for us? How do you think these guys match up? If you had to look at it early on right now, who do you think has the more effective striking style to win in this matchup?
Oh, yeah, it's a hard one, because Masvidal grew so much in the last years in his striking, and he became so powerful, and does that crazy flying knee with Ben Askren, and, he works on something, which we saw, and then he actually pulls it off, That's the same as what McGregor did with the shoulder punches. Worked on something, and then he pulled it off. So I love Masvidal as well, and I love McGregor, both of them. I think striking-wise, I think technical-wise, I think McGregor is the better striker. With his hands for sure. His kicks are great, as we saw landing the left high kick, but I think Masvidal probably has some more power on it, because you will drive that kick through. But then again, Conor doesn't need that power, because he knows exactly where he is at any moment. But his accuracy, that's McGregor's bread and butter, man. He's so accurate, and he's so good in reading his opponent and moving out of the way and then coming in. Against Aldo. He was talking about it in the dressing room. There's a video that he says it. Oh, don't worry about it. It's going to even cost a minute. I'm going to knock him out fast. And then he actually does it, Prince Nassim Hamed. Remember that guy?
Yeah,
of course.
Boxer. Dude, I love that guy. He was same as McGregor, right? He was actually predicting. He would say, I'm going to drop in the second round 2.5 minutes in. And he would be like 10 seconds off. Most of the time, he would literally predict his knockout. So how can you say that a guy like that is not an unbelievable fighter? Because he knows when he has to pull the trigger. And McGregor, also hearing that, before other fights against Khabib, he was still drinking like some whiskey the day before the fight. Yeah. And now he really started toning out. I think also the fact that he's not so aggressive anymore in the conference before the fight, I think that's going to help him a lot, because any fighter who does that, you can say you don't care, but I'm telling you, man, I always tell my students, especially if they have the first fight, don't start begging down your opponent. I'm going to rip his head off, I'm going to break his arm, because that video, they're going to play just before you're going to have to go up. And now you got your friends and family members there. And everybody sees you saying, I'm going to armbar him, I'm going to knock it, whatever you say, now you better do it. That's adding a lot of pressure on you. And pressure might make you, not flow anymore, because you get a little scared. Now I better do it. And guess what? Once you start thinking, watch out for this, you're going to get caught with it. The biggest example I always use was, I think my 5th fight or something in Japan. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to hit anything anymore. I'm going to fly out tomorrow. I'm going to go to the forest and I'm going to do a run in the forest. Idiot, right? Because there is roots and there's crazy things. And I'm walking Suddenly, I misstep and my ankle is completely blown. I have to fly to Japan the next day, and I'm there at least an hour because I just couldn't walk.
Wow.
I go, oh, I'm going to do what am I going to do? But I start finally. I hopped over and I found my car. Went back home and I started forcing everything that I had. When I met everybody, hey man, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. But I was in pain, But I'm telling you, not my manager, nobody knew. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't want it to leak out. And I'm in the fight, and I know 100%. Nobody knew. And the first thing the guy jumps at was Vernon Tiger White. He jumps at that ankle and he puts the toe. First freaking thing. And that's what I'm saying. If you're afraid for something to happen, it's almost like you're sending a signal out, something that his brain picks up, and they go, whoop, let's go after that. And that's what happened in that fight. I won, but I mean, the fact that he right away went for my ankle as the very first move, I thought that was weird.
Yeah, that's spooky stuff right there. Before we move on from the topic, I mean, the boxing fans would kill me if I didn't ask you. You mentioned Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Just quickly, do you believe Conor McGregor could beat a guy like Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather if they do this boxing match this year?
Oh, I go Pacquiao. Yeah, it's a hard question. Pacquiao's in and out movement is so explosive, and he can cover such a big space every time. And that's his power. He's in and he's out, But McGregor is really good at distance, and I always talk about with fighters. I mean, actually, when Max Holloway lost to McGregor, we were talking about on Inside MMA about McGregor, and they said, what about Holloway? I said, I think he's going to be a champion. And everybody looked at me and says, well, he lost. I go, yeah, but his footwork is insane. He has really good distance. You don't see that a lot, that people really control the distance. And what do you know? A couple of years later, he became the champion because he could control that distance. But McGregor is also a master at that, and he's got the long arms, he's got a good long reach, if he can keep him on the outside of his punches. But he has to watch out, of course, for the explosiveness of Pacquiao. Pacquiao's last fight, I mean, he looked like he was 10 years younger suddenly, right? He looked really good in that fight. So
looked suspiciously good, boss. He looked suspiciously good.
Oh, yeah. Always, right? You get caught once, you're done. Yeah. Well, guys like that, they get tested all over the place. It's the same with Cyborg. We were talking about it yesterday. I 100% believe her. I believe that it wasn't intentionally taken. You know why? Because all the guys who get clipped, you see the next fight and they look completely different. They're all soft. There's no more veins. They're a different fighter. She never changed her appearance. And the last time, I think she got checked 6 times before the fight. There's nothing in her system. She looks exactly the same. She fights exactly the same. So I'm 100% believing her. I don't think she did it.
Do you think McGregor would beat Floyd in this rematch? Apparently, Floyd's talking to the UFC right now. Do you think of their rematch now that Conor knows what he's in for, the fight looks different, or do you think Floyd still picks up the win there?
He'll go the distance for sure. To beat a guy like Floyd, I mean, with his defense and the way he rolls with the punches of his opponent and counters, he's just a really good boxer, man. He's not the nicest guy, but, I mean, we can't say anything about his boxing. He's just a phenomenal boxer. But going the distance with Floyd, listen, if a big punch lands, yeah, of course, you can still have the power to knock him out. But, 15-0, man, that says it against the best fighters on the planet, the best boxers on the planet, not fighters, boxers. I think that it's hard to beat a guy like Mayweather, but you never know. McGregor can hit, man. He can hit, and now he's more confident. He already knew he could get 8 rounds. Now he's going to be in a better shape. If he knows he can go the distance, that does a lot to fighters mentally. It makes you much stronger.
Bas, the little message tone reminded us that we should probably let you go because we're being greedy with your time. But obviously, we've got to ask you about Karate Combat because we've seen some of the marketing for it, and these events are looking pretty awesome. Something that you're obviously involved with. Just wondering what 2020 will look like for Karate Combat.
Well, it looks like later in February we're going to have a show, and they pulled all the stops out. It's going to be at a secret place. We're going to have a really great other announcer with us also. It's also going to be surprise guest announcer. It's going to be fun. Yeah. The whole atmosphere, what they do, like the underground comité from the 70s and 80s, the action movies, the video games, top flight Hollywood production values. I mean, it looks really badass. I think people love it. We're still working something with the rules. I just talked to the owner again, and he was thinking about maybe adding low kicks and knees. And I go, well, dude, that would be, please do that. That would be really cool. So he said, let's just see what we can do. I think that people love it. I love the ground and pound that is legal, for 5 seconds. If they fall on the ground, you can just unload on your pound for 5 seconds. There's no holding, no grappling, no nothing whatsoever. So that the strikes really rain down. I think I love it. I the way they present it, with the lighting and every time a different announcer. And I think they're really hard on their way. I would, for the people, go to karate.com, sign up, because as soon as you do that, you get all the news flashes, and then you know exactly when the next show is going to be. Let me see, it's Karate Combat on at Karate Combat, I believe, on Twitter and on Instagram. Start following these people, because I truly believe they deserve it. I thought they brought back karate, almost like freaking in the beginning of Enter the Dragon, right? With the group of all standing there. I see all that coming, I have a feeling we have such a great director there now, and he's thinking so much out of the box. And I think we're going to see some really cool stuff from these guys. You'll watch. And we already saw it.
I would love to see like a reality show, like some kind of like weekly programming where we can get into the life of these guys, because I feel like it would almost be like the Karate Kid, but in real life. I also want to get an update on, of course, we've been looking at the body action system, and we've had people actually, like, every time you come on the show, people are always like, we want to train like Bas Rutten. We want to train with Bas Rutten. But unfortunately for all of our listeners, in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, it's a bit hard to do unless they go over to California. And here we see this body action system. You've been putting it up online and people have been talking about it, where you can sort of recreate a Bas Rutten workout, but in your own backyard using the system. You can also lose some weight and stuff. Like, it looks great right now for people that are trying to lose weight and do it in fun ways. Give us a little bit of an update on the system, though, man, because people sort of want to find out what the deal with it is, the ones that haven't really heard about it yet.
It is just a really great product. I just start punching and kicking again. I can't hit the back because of my neck surgery. All the metal I have in my neck, it comes, so much power comes back that I really injure myself every time I do it. So for years I haven't done it, and I started like 3-4 months ago. I start nailing it again, and I'm so happy that I started again. I started posting videos also with combinations. I show a certain combination, and then I tell them, okay, from this combination we can make like 5 combinations, and then I show how to do it, to change the angle of the punch, or to change the punch from a body shot to an uppercut. And once you start doing it on both sides, suddenly a simple combination, you can create a lot of combinations with it. So it opens the people's minds. And I think for people who are fighting, like, even if I would have had that, I don't think I would have had my tendonitis, because the tendonitis that I received that's from hitting a heavy bag just way too hard. And my muscles apparently were stronger than my tendons, because my tendons, I think the cortisones that I was taking as a kid, I took 45 pills a day for my asthma. I remember 3 times 15. And at that time, they didn't know what the side effects of cortisones were going to be. And I truly believe that affected my tendons, and they became weaker compared to my muscles. And that's why, I started getting all these problems. You won't have that on the body action system. You hit a liver shot in the angle that it is shaped, you hit the perfect liver shot. You hit the solar plexus there. You can do uppercuts. You can't do that on anything else, right? Yeah, you have that other little bob thing that stands like this. That's like somebody waiting in line, you don't want to right? You don't want to wait a minute. A fighter stands 4 over a little bit. The jaw needs to stick out a little bit. You see what I mean? So that, together with the workout that I have, the audio workout, because that was the best, because I sold that workout already before I started with the body action system. They asked me, well, we need the workout. I said, I already have it. He said, what do you mean? I said, I have an audio workout. Watch. I threw it in, and I started doing it on the body action system. They go, oh my God, this is really good. So yeah, I love it. I made a whole bunch of new workouts for the people. Everybody's asking for years, hey, what are the new workouts? They're already out there for 2 years. 18 new workouts, but it's on bodyactionsystem.com. Go there, and they're downloadable. And those have crazy combinations. The old workout that everybody loves, I think there's like 20 combinations. If you put them all together, the new ones have over 100. They got elbows, limb shots, spleen shots. you name it, they have everything in there.
Shoulder strikes.
People, yeah. And it's perfect because you can elbow, uppercut. You can use it all on the body action system. That's what I love about that thing. And you don't get hurt. Best.
I love it because we see a lot of people, a lot of personal trainers trying to take advantage of people trying to get into shape. And then you see them and people are throwing these ridiculous punches and hurting their arms and legs. And here you have the system where you can just set it up in your backyard, quickly get your workout and then learn something in the process. It's absolutely fantastic. And of course, in the meantime, you can also jump on Amazon right now and get the Bas's entire MMA system workout, which is the DVD for under $50, which we just noticed as well. And that is pretty awesome too. So next time you see Submission Radio, Bas, know that we'll have a few new techniques thanks to you. Of course, follow the man on Twitter and Instagram at Bas Rutten MMA. He's an absolute legend and icon, one of the friends of the program. It's an honor having you on Submission Radio 200, Bas. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, you guys, and again, congratulations, man. It's an awesome job. I really enjoy hearing stories. We started a podcast, and after a year and a half, it becomes so difficult, and I know you guys went through the hurdles as well, but you stuck with it, and you stuck with it the whole time, and look where you are right now. And I hear many times when I do an interview, people in my gym, everybody, they're listening to you. So I love it. Congratulations.
Thank you, and a shout out to all the people in your gym that may be listening, Bas. We always appreciate you, and thank you for being so kind to us over the years, man. Love it.
You're very welcome. You guys are awesome. That's why it's very easy to be kind to you.
Thanks, Bas. We'll let you go, man. Enjoy the rest of your day and get on with it. Thank you. Much respect, Bas.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.